Hey guys, in this video, we're going to do an upgrade for the Arrma Vorteks. Now, we've got a few things that we want to add to the car that'll make it more durable. Now, this truck right here did win the Tough Truck out of the box category initially for the channel. So this is already a very durable and tough vehicle. However, there's a few points that could use a little more attention. And what that comes down to is, first off, guys, we want to go ahead and upgrade the slipper gear. Now this is a 57 tooth and it's designed to go right in it. This one's made by Hot Racing. Okay, there you go guys. Hot Racing, there's the part number. This is the one designed to go into that slipper, and it's metal, so it's going to be a lot more durable. I've melted down, at least in the Senton, I've melted down several of the plastic ones, and I changed it to one of these and it held up beautifully. So we're going to go ahead and dig into that. We'll show you how that's done, guys. Then, and I've heard that the shock absorbers on this car, and here, check it out. I've heard that the shock absorbers on this car have new packing and whatever in there, and they're supposed to be tougher and they're not supposed to leak. Well, that's not the case, guys. This one completely blew out. There's no fluid left in it. This one's still holding up, but it's got a pretty heavy air cavity in there now. So they're not completely fixed. I'm not a fan of these plastic shocks anyway. So in this video, we're gonna go ahead and upgrade it to the big bore shocks. And I'll give you the part number. They should be right here, and show you what they are and where to get them. Now, these are not very expensive, but they do work well. I did put a set of these exact ones on my Senton, and they work awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put 35 weight oil in these, and we're gonna put them on the car and see how they do. Also, since we're doing this, we're gonna go ahead and show you what I consider to be not necessary, but definitely a durability upgrade, and that's the RPM arms for these. Now, these RPM arms are a bit more flexible, and if you watch the channel, you know I'm a fan of this stuff. These can take a little work to get on, and we're going to show you how that works. I wouldn't recommend putting these on until you have problems with the stock ones. These arms haven't failed yet. They're still awesome. However, on the Senton, which is basically the same arm setup, these were mandatory. It didn't take very long to bust one of those off, and I didn't even have to hit it that hard to do so. So we're gonna go ahead and show you what's involved in switching these over too. We have more than that though, guys, okay? So here's the front ones, and there's the part number, okay? And there's the rear ones, and there's the part number, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and do the whole set for you, show you how that's done. When we're done with that, guys, we're going to take it out and we're going to run it, and we're going to see how that works out. So there you have it. Let's get on with it. Okay, let's get the body off. And this is the vehicle we're looking at. This is a Senton style chassis. It's the 3S Arrma car, 3S, 4S if you're talking about the Creighton. Most of the running gear is the same. First, we got to get the gearbox out. So we'll pull back the driveline. Now this thing's spring loaded, guys, so pull the driveline back and it pops right out. Easy peasy. There you go, just like that. Now we got to get this red block out of here, and there's one screw on the bottom. So back that out. There we go. Now, this can be a little stubborn if there's dirt, so you got to twist it out gently. I'm just prying gently against the heatsink. Not putting a lot of power into this, guys, just moving it out by steps, and then there you go, just like that. With that out of the way, we will go ahead and unplug all of the motor wires because we are taking the motor out with the transfer case. So there you go. Nice. Okay, so there's a tab on the back. It's a little hard to pull up with your fingers, so I'll just use a screwdriver and lift it a little bit and just gently pry over on the gearbox. It looks like I'm yanking on this, guys, but I'm not. Not putting a lot of power on it, just enough to move it, because this has been in the car since day one and it's loaded up with dirt and debris. It doesn't want to come out very easily. So nice and easy, step by step. There you go. And it'll come right out in your hand. Look at the dirt. Look at the debris, guys. There's the drive module. Go ahead and take this time to clean up some of the gravel and whatnot that traps itself underneath there. And I like to put my screw back in this just so I don't lose it. There we go. Now you can see the pinion shaft right there. Everything's working well. So let's pull this thing apart, guys. There's 3 screws here. Back them out. And when working with plastic and power tools, turn things slowly, guys. Don't just crank them full blast. You'll overheat the plastic and you'll have to buy new parts. So nice and gently. Go ahead and pull that out. Now there's the slipper. Look at the dirt. That's gravel that's been ground into dust by the gears. Look at that. And that was only been out 6 times. So let's take a minute and clean this up. Get as much debris out as possible. Beautiful. Just like that. Clean the other half as well. Nice and clean. Now we're going to go ahead and put this new gear on. So there's a rather long-winded screw right here. And you got to really hang on to that slipper and crank this thing out. It takes a while. But here's why. Look how long it is. Now you see those 3 little discs on there? Those are important. Don't lose those, and remember what order those are in. Okay. This comes apart nice and easy. Oh, wait a tick. Check this out, guys. There's an extra part that goes on there. See the spring? That's the tension spring. Don't lose that. And it comes apart just like so. There's the plastic gear. It's got fiberglass discs on each side, so gently pry those away. These are friction pads, guys. You got to have these. There we go. And now let's get the new one out. And take a look at this, guys. They're virtually the same thing. Now, the metal one is a little bit heavier, but it's worth the cost and weight for the durability you gain. So you got to line these. They're kind of star discs, and they only go in one way. So you got to line these up properly with the slots. See there? Bearing pushes right back through. Same direction it came out, guys. Watch. Nice and free spinning. Okay, that being done, now we can put the one side of the slipper back in place. And that has the stainless steel disc on it that rubs on that fiberglass when the disc slips. Okay, so that's sitting on there, but look, there's another disc in there, and you got to line those stars up as well. See how that goes in? Just like that. Now it has to go in that way, guys, or it won't function properly. Put the other fiberglass disc in, line it up with the ears, and then place the other half of the slipper assembly on it. There we go. Nice and neat. But before we go ahead and seal it up, let's put just a drop of lubrication on this bearing. Don't overdo it, guys. This is a friction pad, so don't just soak it. Just put a drop or so on there so it goes into the bearings. Now, take a look at this here, guys. There's 4 pieces here. You've got a race, a bearing, a race, and a spring, and they have to go in that order. So this middle one right here, that one, that's a bearing. Make sure that goes in the center, guys. Right back down through the center. And like I said, this is a pretty long-winded screw, so this will take a moment. Be patient. There we go. Now don't over tighten this, guys. It's supposed to be a slipper. So this will be tunable afterwards, but run it down snug and then start from there. Little lubrication on the bearings for the housing now, and a little lubrication for the motor bearing. There we go. Drop the slipper back in place. Watch this. Spins nice and free on that bearing. Beautiful. And look at the mesh there, guys. Perfect. So lube the other bearing, the support bearing for the slipper, and then reassemble. There we go. Now that should snap together. There we go. And then if you're going to use a power tool, nice and slow, guys. No hurry here. And don't try to tighten them with the power tool. Always do this part by hand. So get them down close with the power tool, snug them at the end by hand so you don't strip them out. You're only screwing into plastic here, guys. So it doesn't take a lot of pressure to destroy it. Now on the bottom here, you see that open slot? This tape here, it's called Stego tape. This is the type I use. It's amazing tape. If you can find any of that, it's difficult to find, and I have to tell you guys, I don't have the part number for it. But you want to tape over that hole. Try and leave it kind of loose right at the gear itself, but seal it down really nice all the way around it. Then trim it to fit. There we go. And the other end. The reason I like this tape is it's so sticky and it's thick. So trim it nice and close, just like that. And you remember all that gravel that was under this thing? Well, now that's sealed down there and the gravel can no longer get into your gear mesh. I don't know why they don't do that from the factory, but that saves so much maintenance, guys. So much with just a piece of tape. All right, back to the car. It's time to slip this thing in. So the tape here, watch, it won't even interfere. Snaps down on the rails, pull everything out of the way. There we go, line it up. Once you're lined up with the rails down underneath, it'll snap right in place. There we go. Now we can put the secure block back in it, so go ahead and remove that screw we saved, and it'll slide right into that slot. This should go together a lot easier than it came apart, guys, because the gravel's been cleaned out. So now you see it's in place properly. Can put the screw in from underneath now to lock it down. There we go. Tighten her by hand, guys, even though that one goes into a nut. Excellent. So now we'll connect the wires. And the nice thing is, in this car, they're color coded, so orange to orange, yellow to yellow, blue to blue, and then of course the fan electrode plug. There we go. Blue to blue, and the plug for the fan motor. Beautiful. Now, all we got to do now is stick the driveline in. So compress it a little bit so it fits between the two stubs. And you want to get those lined up and then snap it over the front one. There you go. Pull it back. Line it up with that one. And then you've got to roll it a little bit to get it to sink into the teeth. You'll know when you get it, it'll pop right on just like that. There you go. And back together. So now we've got the new gear in it and everything is back in order. So let's get on to the next project, and that's the shocks. Now we're going to abbreviate this a little bit, guys. We're going to show you in slow speed the first one, and then we're going to tear this thing apart quickly because this would be a huge video if we don't. So the screw's out. Go ahead and lift that out. That one, there's no oil in it at all. Okay, so let's rip it apart. Same way for each corner, guys. 2 screws, There we go. All 4 shocks out. That didn't take very long, and it was pretty simple to do. All right, here are the new ones. Get them out of the case. Let's lay out what we've got here and check our sizes. Too big, too small. Small ones go in the front. And here are the old ones. Now, if you'll notice, those shocks are a little smaller than the new ones. Here's our 35 weight oil that we're going to use in each one. So we'll go ahead and show you on one how to do this. These access from the top. I really like that about them. So half filled, not all the way, just halfway, and then use the plunger and get rid of the air bubbles. Fill it the rest of the way up and cap it. Now keep a little space at the top because you got to have room for it to collapse. There we go. Check it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shocks done. Now let's put them on the car. Notice the end there? I've got a piece of yellow silicone right through there. That silicone is what I like to use instead of those hard rubber or hard plastic pieces. The silicone will absorb impact and it will allow the shock to twist and move a little bit, which seems to make the shocks last longer, in my opinion. So that's why I use silicone in the top. Don't forget to hand torque these guys. There we go. And we want to fit these right into the arms there. Now this is temporary, I'm aware of this, guys, because we are going to change the arms. But let's go ahead and pretend that we're going to just do the shocks and not the arms. This is how you would attach them. Don't forget to hand torque them. Okay, same's on the front. Nice. Nice and easy. Beautiful. Okay, torque those down. Sweet. Now for the bottom ones. Line them up and attach them to the arms. Nice. Check the torque. And there you go, guys. Shocks are done. Suspension moves free. Everything feels good. Nice. Nice. Okay, so let's get the tires and wheels off of this thing so that we can get after the arms. We'll speed through this as well. There we go. And we'll get a feel of the suspension here, make sure everything was working freely, and it was. So let's start on the front end of the vehicle, and there's 2 bolts that go through the bottom of the chassis here. And these skid plates both have the same type of thing here, one long, one short. There's 2 on the shock tower to pull out, and when we put it back together, you'll see which ones these are. Now these have tongue and groove, so you're going to have to lift and pull to get those out of the little slots. And there's your front end. 2 screws on the aluminum bracket. There you go. Nice and easy, guys. Don't want to heat this plastic up. And those 2 screws just gave us access to those arm pins, the hinge pins. Okay. Now, these are buried, so you have to push them through. So you just get on there with a smaller wrench and push them through. Once you push them through, you can get a hold of them hinge pins with a pair of pliers, just like this. There you go. See there, guys? So just force these off. They might be a little snug, but they do come. There you go. Now we just gotta detach the shock absorbers. And since we're gonna reconnect new arms, we just turn them down so we don't lose the screws, just like so. And they'll be right there ready to go when we go to put it back together. So just turn it down so the screw stays in. Pull the hinge pin. There you go. Now this is the larger hinge pin there, guys. The smaller one's to the outside, so you can't get them mixed up that way. just like so. Let's get a new arm out now. Now the nice thing about these arms is they're interchangeable. So take a look at this, guys. It doesn't matter whether I have a right or a left. They line right up. They're the same in shape and design, but it can go on either side. Isn't that slick? So let's go ahead and fit this one on. And look at there, it went right in the slot. On the Centon, we had to do a little filing here to get it to fit in there properly, but it went right on in the Vortex. Little light tapping just to seat it. The other side, same thing. Let's go ahead and start the hinge pin, get everything ready to go, and then right through. Look at this, nice and easy. Everything moving freely. Now we're going to go ahead and put that aluminum piece back on, and that'll go ahead and, what that does is that strengthens the front end or the rear end, depending on the vehicle, so that impacts won't destroy the plastic. The aluminum takes the hit instead of the plastic. So it makes it a lot stronger up front. Of course, check the torque by hand, guys. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and connect the shocks. I'm going to use the outer holes on the front. That will not let the arms travel quite as far as they can when you go to the outside holes. Realignment and new pin. There we go. Get it lined up and tap it in. Beautiful. And push it through, because you got a screw goes in there to hold it. See the hole right there? A screw goes in there to hold that hinge pin in. So we'll do the other side first. Get them lined up. Put the hinge pin in place. There we go. Tap it in just to make sure you're seated good. And then push it through, guys. It won't go all the way through, it just goes to a certain point and stops. Now you put these screws in, and they go right in that hole, and that'll hold them from backing out, so it can't come apart. So they're captured. Nice. Okay, so let's show you how this goes back in. Put the two tabs in, hinge it down, and put the first screw in. This is the long one, goes toward the front. Short one goes in the back. Just like that. Torque them down. There we go. And put the two in on the shock tower right there. Beautiful. And now your new suspension is up and running in the front. In the back, there's a couple of screws that you need to pull out from the wheelie bar assembly, so you don't have to take the whole thing apart. So there's one on each side towards the top, and then there's the hinge piece that's right in the center of it. And as you look down in there, guys, you'll see it, and when we put it back together, it'll be a little more obvious. These three screws have to come out of there, or you have to pull the whole assembly apart. So take the two off the bottom. There we go. And it should come right off like that. There we go. Simple. Of course, we're back at the aluminum piece now. So we'll pull this off. And this is just like the front, guys. It really is. We're going to pull the hinge pins off for the outer hub carriers. There we go. And we'll go ahead and push those pins through so we can get a hold of them with the pliers. There, see it come through there? Now you can get a hold of it. That's the whole point there, guys. Just like that. Go ahead and detach the shocks. There we go. All right, now we'll pull the hinge pins and they'll come right off. These are the larger hinge pins. So here we go. 1, 2. And now we can go ahead and remove both arms, just like that. Nice and easy. They're identical. Okay. Get the new ones out, and we'll go right ahead and install the first one. And I'm really surprised, guys. There's been no modification necessary for these arms. So far, they've gone straight on with no issues, and that's a really good thing. I kind of had to fight it a little bit on the Senton. On this one, look at that. They're fitting right in with no issues. Everything's hinging really nicely. Let's go ahead and connect the shock. There we go. Nice. We're going to go ahead and attempt the inside hole on the shock for this one. There we go. Because there's two locations you can hook the shocks on with RPM arms. Pretty nice. However, we did wind up putting it back to the outside holes later on. Go ahead and put the pin through the hub carrier, push it through. Nice. And get that nut started, or bolt started. And these are a little stubborn, guys. You have to push against them to get them started. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Nice and sturdy. Working fine. Okay, let's do the same thing for the other side. Go ahead and bring the hub carrier up. Fit it in between the arms there, and fish the hinge pin through it. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and put that bolt right through there, a screw. We're going to put it right in there to retain it. Awesome. Don't over tighten them, guys, they're short. We'll put the aluminum piece back in. There we go. Just like so. Once we torque this down, it'll bring us to the bumper. Okay, so fit the tabs in, press it down, get the big one in first, small one second, and then torque them by hand. Nice. And then line up your two slots down there. You can see the holes. So you line those up, get your lower one in first. That's the long one, so that's the hingey point for the wheels. And then put the top one in. Now, the top ones have one on each side, so you'll have to do one from the right side and then one from the left side, guys. There you go. We'll get the wheels and tires back on it. There we go. Nice and easy. Don't forget to torque them good. And we'll get the body back on it. There we go, guys. Looking good. The Vortex with the mods on it. Okay, guys, there you go. The build for the Vortex with the mods on it. We did the arms, we did the shocks, and we hardened the gear in the gear case. Now, the slipper was a little more involved, so we had to stay with that. We showed you one of the shocks, how to do that, installed all those. We showed you how to get the arms on, and that's pretty much it for that, guys. Everything went on pretty good. The arms can be a bit difficult. When I put that set on the Senton, there was a little bit of filing involved, but these slid right into place with no binding. The shocks are a bit longer. Now, it's not a big deal. They're just a little bit longer, and if you soften the springs, they sit right where they're supposed to with no issues. Excellent. There's only one thing left to do, guys. Take it out and test it. Check this out. Okay guys, there you go, the running footage for the Vorteks mods. Now, we did do several things there. You know, for the slipper, we did put that steel gear in, and it definitely runs out nice and smooth. The arms are good, everything runs as it should. The shocks are a little longer, and all that does is it does allow the front end to creep up a little higher. There was no difference in how the car handled. Everything seemed to be pretty good. And all you'd have to do, guys, is put those shims inside the shock to bring it down if that bothers you. It's a pretty simple thing, and I go over that in the shock video, so check that one out if you're curious. As far as the mods go, you know, they say these are better, that they've upgraded these shock absorbers, but I just am not seeing it. They have a much smaller shaft than these new ones do. I don't like the way they're built. Everything can leak out the bottom relatively easily, and you know, if you're a fan of these, right on guys, that's cool. These just don't work for me. And like I said, there was nothing wrong with the arms on this car. They were good to go, and they were holding up. I don't know if they've got a different plastic in them or whatnot, but these were really good arms, guys. The reason we changed them out was because the other car, the Senton, has exactly the same part number for these arms. It's the same thing, and I broke them on the regular. Therefore, if these are the same part number, it makes sense to trade them out on this one. So we went ahead and handled that. As far as the rest of the car goes, guys, it's a pretty bulletproof little car. It's super fast, and it's super fun. So just to cap this a little bit, guys, what we've done here is, if you took a close look, we upgraded the slipper gear. We took this one out here, and you can already see signs of wear on it. This has only been out 6 times total. And if you remember the video, there was a lot of dirt inside of that gearbox. That's what that tape was for. That seals the bottom, and when I pulled that out, you could see the gravel underneath it that gets lodged in there. That gravel gets up inside the gearbox, guys, and it causes problems. So taping that bottom off, you need some decent tape. The stuff I use, it's really sticky, but it does leave a big enough pocket to where the gear can rub on it, but it doesn't tear through it. So that is a huge upgrade all by itself, and it's literally just a piece of tape. Especially if you have a new machine, you can tape that over and save a lot of mileage on these things. We did swap out the shock absorbers, and for my opinion, that was necessary. They're tougher, they're bigger, and they're easier to tune, and they load from the top, which is much nicer than these bottom load ones. And of course, we changed the arms, and most of the reason I changed the arms on this was so you new people out there would know how that's done. It's not always as obvious as one may think, especially if you haven't turned a wrench on one of these cars before. It can seem difficult. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do, and it lets us know here at the studio if we're going in the right direction. You know, I know these build videos can be long and arduous, especially if you've been in the hobby for some time. These videos, guys, are geared towards the new people, people that haven't had to dig into these cars before and want to know what's involved. If you've had experience at this, like I say, these can seem boring. Please feel free to hop on to the next video and see something with a bit more action. For those of you that are new to the hobby, this video was for you, to show you how easily these things come apart, how easily they can go back together, and how simple the maintenance truly can be. So hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep wrenching guys.